Good evening. It's a new year and a new season of Cut Deep. Happy New Year and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1. We know you've been anticipating the new season and we're happy to be back. Tonight's episode will focus on the host of Cut Deep herself. Who is she? What is her motive? Get to know Sydney Roseanne Jones, and I am Kishma Penn, your special guest host for tonight's episode. The concept of Cut Deep was developed with a focus of encouraging the wider public to think more in-depth on issues that plague us, encouraging persons to have a voice and to use that voice to invoke change. Cut Deep is an interactive platform cutting through the noise and political rhetoric. It is raw, uncut, and challenging you to think critically. What do the issues mean for us? What part do we play? It is a platform that will move the Virgin Islands towards a unified, integrated success. Welcome back, Blossoms Florist and McKelly's Beauty Salon as our floral and beauty sponsors for Season 3. We thank them for our continued support and we welcome Basics to our roster of sponsors. We now cut to commercial, and when we come back, we will introduce tonight's guests.
The win! Oh!
What are the hell?
I'm freaking out!
Is time.
284 Music.
Coming to you live and direct from the beautiful British Virgin Islands.
What's poppin', what's really good, what's happening, what's up?
Davis has won it for the Lakers!
Good night again, and we welcome for the first time on her own show in her guest chair. It must be an experience to have these two powerful ladies on stage. So we'll have a chance tonight to get to ask questions like, exactly, who is Sydney Roseanne Jones? So Sydney, how are you?
I am good. It feels really weird to be on the other side. But I'm assuming it's going to be a really good talk show tonight. So thank you for having me, Kishma.
Thank you for being here and being your guest. So my first question, which would of course, help folks to understand who you are is, well, we know that for instance, people have this view of you, you're either to the far left, far right, you're a little bit controversial, outspoken, and quite frankly, some say you're just out of place. But who exactly is Sydney? Can you describe yourself so that the public who don't actually know you can get a chance to know you?
Well, Kishma, if I had to describe myself, I would first of all say that I am a powerful woman. I know that. I make it a point when I walk into the room that, heads would turn or my presence would be felt. Yes, that's the type of woman that I am. But I'm also a mother. I'm a mother of three beautiful children, a 16-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an 11-year-old daughter who I think is quite the mini-me. She zooms in on who I am, so I try to be quite an example for her. In my professional capacity, I'm a marketer, public relations professional. I do events. I love to do events. Mm-hmm. I've traveled extensively. I've studied away. I've lived away from the BVI for a very long time. That's me. I love to cook. I maintain my home. I can say I'm a rounded woman.
Okay. So you talk about the home, and so it leads me to my next question. What does a typical day at home with Sydney look like? With these three kids who, based on their ages, they're very close to each other. So I imagine sometimes they have you pulling your hair out.
They do. My older son, he's very calm and, he doesn't give me a lot of trouble. He has a lot of demands in terms of how he wants to dress and, going out with his friends, etc. He has quite a social life, but I can't blame him because he's looking at me and I have quite a social life. My two younger ones, we call them Irish twins. Mm-hmm. They're about 13 months apart.
They're Irish twins,
and
by definition.
Hoo-wee! They're a handful. They're a handful. They fight a lot, but don't ever get in between them. I hear them fight. I try to mediate sometimes if it's needed. If not, I let them sort it out. But say if it's a school day or regular thing is get up, get ready for school. My son catches the 7:45 boat to Virgin Gorda because he goes to school on Virgin Gorda to Siboney.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The other two, well, Hugh Anthony's and Amari's in high school now. That's my second son, and my daughter, she's at Willard Wheatley. So I have a bit of a, you got drive around in the morning. So that's how our morning starts with breakfast, get ready, the back and forth screaming, yelling. You're not ready. I'm going through the door now. So you get in the car without something and you're yelling, just like a regular mom. That's my regular day.
You're very hands-on with your kids.
I'm very hands-on with my children.
Well, that's good to know because, there's this conception. Of course, one of the misconceptions about you is that you're rich and you're flowing with money.
I
am? And, people start to think that you're stuck up. So a lot of people who probably don't know you, I know you, but those who don't know you probably envision you in a house with a housekeeper and maybe a nanny.
No,
so it's very good to hear how hands-on you are with your kids.
I'm very hands-on. One of the reasons for that, Kishma, is because I don't trust people with my children.
Okay.
So I've trained them to be or raised them to be very independent.
Self-reliant.
They understand my lifestyle from time they were born.
Okay.
There are times that I'm running around like a crazy woman based on my job and my profession. So I'm very hands-on with my children. Okay. Very hands-on. I'm not rich, for sure. I'm not rich. I don't have a nanny, a carer, or any of that.
Yeah, well, that's good to know, and it's good that you dispel those rumors. I saw a post from you last year on Facebook where you posted about opening up your home during Christmas to families in need to share in a Christmas dinner, and that or lunch it was, and that the person should inbox you. How did that go?
It went well. That wasn't the first time, Kishma.
Right.
I did it after the hurricane.
Right.
That Christmas when we had gone through the hurricane, I didn't have any electricity or anything. But I did it then as well. I like to entertain, and I have a really big heart.
Right.
Sometimes that's fortunate. Sometimes that's really unfortunate. But despite what you see of my strong personality, I'm very open and I have a soft heart.
Okay.
Yeah. That's probably why I do what I do. Because I can't stand to see injustice, and so it plays on my heart, and I just have to respond.
But I'm glad that you brought up the point of injustice, and you flowing with my questions. It's almost like your answers. I think you cheat and steal my question sheet too.
The truth is I wanted to see your questions before, but you wouldn't let me.
No, but it seems like you stole my question sheet. Now, I actually glad that you brought up the injustice because one of the questions I have for you is, why did you choose Cut Deep? Why did you pick that platform, and what actually led you to becoming vocal in the way that you are right now?
How did I choose the name Cut Deep?
One, the name, the show, the name itself, the show platform, and what drove you to get there.
I want to believe that between another friend and myself, we came up with Cut Deep.
Okay.
I want to think he did.
Okay.
Come up with Cut Deep. I know when I sat in with my team at 284, they considered some other names as well. But in the end, we went with Cut Deep. And that was based, I guess, on my interaction on Facebook or social media. I don't want to use the word aggression, but my strong stance or my position on certain things and my willingness to go a little deeper than the surface. So that's how we came up with that name.
Okay.
How did I get into being so vocal? I think I've said this before. I've always been involved in politics, but I've been quiet.
Right.
So I would share my views behind the scenes. When I had my children, I think when I had my son, I became a little more vocal or outspoken because I realized that I had to protect this little person. And to do that, I would need to find my voice in every way. I became more vocal politically when I moved home a few years ago, and we We had a 2015 election, correct?
Yeah, 2015.
And what I experienced during that election, because my sister had ran as
I
an
remember.
at-large candidate, what I experienced, it kind of shocked me. It kind of shocked me. I didn't know that we had reached there as a people. And so I sat back and I thought on how do I play a part in turning around what was going on and what I experienced during that campaign season and what all of us witnessed.
Right.
So I sat back and as the PR person that I am, I came up with the exact plan as to how I would do that. And so I started building a Facebook or social media platform directly tailored to politics.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you segue into Cut Deep, basically.
Well, apparently people wanted more. People wanted more of me, so
I know the feeling. I get it too with the
yeah.
folks who listen to my live, so I understand it very, very well.
Yeah, I had a bit of encouragement.
Okay. So we'll take a short pause and shoot to commercial right now, and then we're going to get a little bit deeper into Miss Jones a little bit later. It's me and Mrs. Jones today. You got to be old enough to
Business
understand
slow,
that.
cash flow down, hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Hey BVI, it's 2021 and guess what? We are kicking taboo to the curb. Let's face it, the world lacks conversation. So, we are bringing you homemade cocktails, thought-provoking topics, and nuggets to rock your world. A show that promises to keep it fun, frank, and fresh. So, come on this journey with me. This is Keeping It Candid, conversations for the modern world.
Welcome back to Cut Deep. I am your guest host tonight as we have Mrs. Jones in the chair. And, she can't interview herself, so I took up the great honor. We'd like to thank the sponsors, Blossom Florist, McKelly's Beauty Salon, and Basics, the newest sponsor to our roster. So, Mrs. Jones, now we started.
Cindy's good.
Cindy. Okay, we're going with Cindy. You see,
Yes.
you're a little older than me, so I always start the little respecting thing. And plus, I always look up to you as a youth. So
That's a lot of pressure.
why? Ain't no pressure there. You're good people. So, we're getting a little feel of who you are. But there's a burning question on everybody's mind. There are lots of burning
I was going to
questions.
say just one.
There are lots of burning questions, but I have to start with some of the most controversial ones. So the first one, which really put you on the map and had you on the far left or far right when people was trying to figure you out, was when you were very vocal against the fast tracking of citizenship in 2019. Could you explain why you were vocal and how did that issue really affect you? Because I think the extent of how much your show became popular, part of that was one of the reasons. Like that began people's sort of love-hate relationship. Like they want to know what you're saying, but they can't stay away. They're mad, but they can't stay away. So yes, what really enraged you about? Because I remember some of your words.
Okay.
And you was very upset.
Okay. Before I go to that, I want to be fair in terms of when I was talking about my children and managing them and motherhood.
Right.
I married,
Of
and
course.
my husband is very hands-on with his children as well.
Right.
So that eases my burden a bit. So they are in a grounded household. So moving on to. Yes, I think that issue was one of the issues that threw me into I'm not sure we like her. That kicked off the biggest part of the whole controversial
Correct.
insight or the way people see me. So I have a strong position on immigration
Right.
issues. And I can say that I'll tell you straight up, because I tell people all the time, I don't know at which point I became the face of that. I was not even on the island when the meeting, the initial walk down to the premier's office, and that meeting happened. And I think it went a little awry, based on just how certain things were presented. I was not even on the island. But somehow my position on that, I somehow became the face of that controversial bit of half legislation, I'm going to say.
Oh, Lord.
My position on it was this. I didn't have a problem with the fast tracking.
Right.
My position was, where do we go after that? That was my position. Where do we go after we've fast-tracked these 1,500 people?
Right.
We know it's not going to be 1,500 people. It was disingenuous from the get-go. So that as well enraged me. We knew it was going to be close to 4,000 people. And the fact is, if we didn't have this COVID situation, we would have already done the remaining number of persons. And that's a fact. Okay? So my position wasn't that I hate that this is going to happen because it's outsiders or whatever. If you've given back, you've been here, you've given to society, you've done your part, yes, by all means. However, that wasn't the case. There were people in that batch that didn't break 10 years.
Right.
That got status.
Right.
But my position is, where do we go from here? What will be the immigration policy moving forward? How are we going to protect not only Virgin Islanders, but belongers as well?
Right.
So that was my position. What are we going to do? Are we going to close the gate? Are we going to adjust the laws? There was nothing forthcoming, and there still isn't anything that has come on the table to protect. Okay? So you have it where it's a continuous. Let's take let's go to labor and STEM work permits.
Right.
Okay? I'm going to jump on the corporate sector.
Right.
Okay? We have people that come in, and immigration and labor automatically stamps or renews their time here every single year.
Right.
There is no question. Okay? Automatic. If you're allowed to be here for a certain amount of years, correct? And then you can apply for belonger status. Where does that leave you, Kishma, as a Virgin Islander? Okay, so with labor, you come in, you're supposed to be training. If there isn't a local or belonger that is in a position to do job,
the brain transfer.
You're supposed to train someone under you to come up. That isn't happening. And so if that isn't happening and you're allowed to get your work permit renewed every single year with no question, what's happening there?
Okay, so I gain.
So Virgin Islanders are being disenfranchised.
I gain an understanding of what you're saying now,
and
now that you're
right.
expounded.
But I've said it over and over. But people are quick to say, "Oh, but her dad isn't from here, and this one isn't from here, and her husband isn't from here, and she should be on our side." But there's no side. There's a side. There is what is right and what is wrong. What is there or what is in place to protect. It's not that you can't get belonger status. I don't have a problem with that. But how are you getting belonger status?
Right. Like you haven't fulfilled, based on what you're saying, you haven't fulfilled even the requirements of your work permit because they're required in their work permit to train someone.
Correct. But even
because they haven't done so, and now you make them equal to the citizens of the country, basically. Because once you have
you're disenfranchising your people.
Once you have belonger status, you're almost as you're like a citizen.
You are. But what I'm saying is you're disenfranchising me because not only are you cutting me out of a job, this person isn't doing what they're supposed to train me, you're cutting me completely out of a job anyway because they're going to become a belonger. Right. If you understand what I'm saying.
Right. I get what you're saying.
Okay.
You cut me out of the job on the first instance because he won't hire me as an apprentice to
and then
train
you seal that fee.
And then you turn around and you concretize that by saying, okay, now you're a belonger, so you ain't got a reason to leave.
Correct.
And now I'm no longer even bounded by a work permit that says that I was supposed to transfer my knowledge.
Right.
Okay. I get it.
So that's my position. So whether my dad is from here or my husband is from here or not, I don't think that has anything to do with where the BVI needs to go,
Okay.
or plans that should be made for Virgin Islanders and belongers. So that was my position on that.
Okay, so I definitely get it, and I gain an understanding, and I felt it was important to ask you the question because, like me, you and me are the same in terms of we usually end up in a hot seat for saying something that people don't quite understand the extent of what it is we're saying, or follow us through to the end.
What I think I need to do more of is maybe a little more clearer way of saying what I say. Right. I think I say what I say quite often from a very heated place.
Right.
And sometimes maybe the message is missed.
Right.
So maybe, I'll try a little harder.
Okay. Well, I'll come in with the even heavier question now. Because it's on everybody's mind and you're in the hot seat, so I have to ask. So your whole dismissal situation, which you know about.
I forgot about that.
We've gotten snap bites of your side of the story. Mm-hmm. Walk us through what happened, because I believe even in your talking about the citizenship is when you actually first started to ruffle the feathers of the powers that be. And I think it's right after that you got your first warning letter, if I'm not mistaken.
Pretty close to that.
Pretty close to
that.
Okay, so yes. So tell us about the dismissal. And you're the voice, me and you are both the voice against victimization. And it's ironic that we're talking about victimization and we are both the victims of victimization. So now, as the most recent public victim of victimization, give us your story.
I don't consider myself a victim.
Well, that's
I
good.
never consider myself a victim. But yes, that 1500 controversy, that kind of started out that letter trail. And it continued. I got a letter. I talked about the premier had shifted around departments and ministries, and
correct.
He brought a few ministries under him. And I mean, it was public information.
Right.
He had put it out there.
Right.
What I did was talked about it, and the possibility of that type of shifting around, what it could do for anybody in a position of power.
Correct.
Okay?
You're talking about the statutory bodies, the money-making statutory bodies. Correct. Not the defunct ones.
All the ones that make money or are somehow related to information and data.
Right.
I think what broke the camel's back for me, I think he had taken our electricity from the minister and put it under himself.
Correct.
Okay? I find that we don't pay attention to what is going on. And that's one of the reasons, too, that I speak. And a lot of people say to me, unless you brought it up, I didn't even know that was happening. But everything is in the paper. But people seem to can't pause for a moment to notice what's going on. So I talked about that. I talked about the positioning of different people on the boards. One of those persons was Bevy Sylvester.
Correct.
And I spoke to
if I'm not mistaken,
his past.
He's on a lot of different boards.
As far as I know. I spoke to his past, and I'm not saying that you can't forgive and move on, but I talked about what I call the elephant in the room. Okay, so I brought that up. And then I got a letter saying that I embarrassed the premier. And I was like, well, how did I embarrass the premier? I just talked about
public
the
knowledge.
Shifting of his ministries, which he did. I just analyzed it from my position as a citizen, which I have a right to do. And then the letter also spoke about me speaking about members of the BVI Tourist Board. At that point, the board hadn't been introduced to us. We had no idea who was on the board, who was the chairman, who was it. I could tell you to this date, I've never met the board. I've never met the BVI, the new board of the Tourist Board. Never met them. Haven't been introduced.
This is
outside of the chairman, Gloria Foy, and I can't remember the name of the guy that sits on Andrew's committee in the first. Those were the only 3 people that I met.
Okay. So this is the existing board
Yes.
that you don't know?
Yes.
The one that set it up by Miss Boyne-Sprav, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So so I got that letter, and the letters just kept coming after that. So when I got that letter with regards to that, I knew that I was in for where this road would lead.
Were you ever fearful in the beginning that
No.
you would end up here?
No, I was never fearful. I knew that this was inevitable.
Okay. So you
I knew this was
weighed the
inevitable.
pros and cons and you walked the line.
Kishma,
basically.
there is no pros and cons to seeing wrong
Right.
and talking about it.
Correct.
There's no pros and cons to freedom of speech. Yes, it comes with responsibility. I haven't been irresponsible in my speech.
Right.
I haven't talked about the tourist board. I haven't talked tourist board's business. I don't even talk government business because I don't know government. I speak about what the administration that we hired, what they do, the decisions that they make, and how they will affect us.
Right.
I'm not going to say it kindly if I don't want to. So there are people that may have a problem with my tone.
Right. Do you think that the problem that people have with your tone, and I'm gonna popular opinion again, or we know it, this is still very much a patriarchal society.
Mm-hmm.
Women are supposed to be in their place, not be controversial.
Well, I'm glad you said that because most of the feedback that I get in terms of you don't know your place or the way you speak or what you say and you're disrespectful and so forth, that comes from the man.
Correct.
Right? Most of it comes to me from a man.
Right.
Okay? Even when I was on Heritage Shotola Radio, most of the call-ins were from guys.
Yeah, I was actually, remember I was listening and I called in.
I paid very close
right
attention to that stuff.
Right.
A lot, it was mostly the male. She doesn't know her place. She's outspoken. She, you know, I don't listen to that type of stuff. You know, she's disrespectful to the premier. I remember when the premier was they were doing a road show on whether we should borrow this $400 million or not. They had a session at the college. I went, I had my questions ready. I'm going to have a follow-up to my questions. If you didn't answer my question or if you dodge it in any way, I'm going to have a follow-up. Apparently, coming out of that, oh, you were a little rude to the premier. I said, how was I rude? Because I had a follow-up to my question that he didn't answer. I wanted an answer.
Do you find, well, in my experience, and I know everybody's experience is different, but do you find the authority, the elected officials, the members of government, the administration, do you find them to be approachable and being able to have open discourse, even if they're in a professional, even if they have to excuse themselves from their professional capacity and be like, listen, this is Kishma Penn talking to you versus, and I'm just throwing out names here, versus leader of the opposition, right? I put down my leader of the opposition, I talking to you as a common citizen of the BVI with concerns. Do you ever find that they take the position of being able to take themselves out of the position and be able to listen to the common man? But, and especially in your dealings with them.
The truth is I don't have conversations with them. I don't feel like I need to talk to them, to be honest. And I'm not saying that in a disrespectful manner. I'm simply saying that if you were elected to do a job, I'm not going to elect you because I like you or you're my friend. That would probably be the last reason
to vote.
I would vote for you.
Right.
Okay? So I don't need to speak to you. A matter of fact, when I started dealing with this whole thing, when I started getting my first letters and stuff, I had people call me and they were like, oh, you should call the premier, or you should call this person, you should talk to this person. I was like, no, I'm not going to talk to anybody. Rarely anything happens that is not sealed from the top. So I'm not talking to anybody. So when you're talking to these people, you're talking to you're talking to someone, but they're like a sponge. They're absorbing. They're hearing you, but they're not really there to do anything because you're not their agenda.
Right.
Okay? They're not here to. Okay? So you're talking to them. So no, and everything is political. Their conversation is political. They tell you what they want to hear, what you want to hear, and so forth. So no, they don't relate to you. They don't really truly care about what you're going through. And if you take a look around right now at what's going on in the country, you know that they don't care. You know that they don't care if you're going to starve. If you can't cast a vote, they care even less.
I could say,
So that's my position on that.
I could definitely say, understand that for sure. I've heard, it's just this weekend stuff, I've heard 5 other people say exactly the same thing. And I get it's a general consensus is how people feel when dealing with the administration. So my question now, looking back at everything that transpired, would you have done anything differently?
No.
Not a single thing.
No, I wouldn't.
You stand by?
And even moving forward, like I said, maybe there are some times that I will determine my tone, but not quite often because that hasn't gotten us anywhere. I find that there is a culture of, oh, everybody doesn't have to be radical. Well, they call me radical. Okay. Every few decades, you need radicalism to turn around.
You do.
Okay? I was going to say the S word, but you need radicalism to change the course of where we're going. Sometimes your mother, she's talking to you and you're not listening, you're not getting, and she hit you a slap. Does she hate you?
No.
No, she had to get to that point where she's like, I need you to pay attention.
So really, I call it a reality check.
Yeah, and sometimes we need that. So I'm not going to be calm when I'm talking about these guys, this administration or any administration, because these guys have been around. They know what's going on. They're part of the society.
Right.
And yet they do what they do. I'm not going to be calm about it. And I'm not going to measure my tone or be cordial.
Do you think that and this is the last question before we go to commercial break, we take a quick break. Do you think that what's the word? Do you think that they're embarrassed, so to speak? The way in which they react, the way in which you were dismissed was more reactionary to being embarrassed. And because you see, you used that word before, and when you said, they say that you embarrassed the premier, because I've had that word used at me when they say, well, Kishma, you're embarrassing the people. And you know, this is me personally, the way I look at life. Embarrassment comes for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Shame is so you could, take the eye higher than everybody else out your eye and humble yourself and readdress and go forward. Another reality check, as I like to call it. So do you think that the problem is that they're embarrassed and that you are too much of a megaphone of what they don't want?
Here's what I think. I think it's twofold or trifold.
Right.
This group definitely loves attention. They love positive press. You can tell in the way that they have a ribbon cutting for everything. They love that attention. If they give you $1, Kishma, they're going to put that in the press.
Correct.
Okay? They love that. So they love that attention. So anytime you can highlight the crap that they're doing, it is going to bother them. Now, Kishma, I won't lie to you and tell you that there are times that I have messaged the premier. There are times that I have messaged other ministers and talked about, something that may have come up.
Right.
I'm going to talk, and they don't shift. So when you don't shift, then I'm going to take to my page and I'm going to embarrass you.
Right.
Okay? And that's why I talk about the culture of us or leaders wanting them to come on the side and talk to them. Okay?
Right.
It needs to end.
Right.
It's either you do the right thing. If I do side message you, you think about the direction you're going, or we'll take it to the public space in a very public way. And I'm happy to do that. Okay. In terms of me, it's more than embarrassment for them. And they can't deal with the harsh reality of their failures either, okay? Because they have a lot of failures under their belt. We're going to highlight them over the next season of Cut Deep. We're going to put contracts on the table. We're going to put names on the table. Because if you're interacting with government, you're fair game. I can call your name because you're interacting with government. I am government.
Correct.
You are government.
Correct.
So we're going to put all of that on the table.
And it's public knowledge. And it should be
It
public
should
knowledge.
be public knowledge. So
It's already public
In the
knowledge. It should be more accessible to the public.
well, it's not accessible
Right.
because you can't ask these guys anything. You can't call the departments. You can't call the ministries to get anything. So nothing is public. They say it's public, but it's not. Okay? So where there's a lack of good governance legislation so that we could actually have a right to inquire on those things, I as a citizen have a civic duty to talk about what's going on. So that's what I'm going to do.
And we are
Okay.
happy to have you talk about what's going on.
The third part of why I think that, my release from the board, it certainly has to do with Patsy Lake as well. And if I'm lying, they can say that I'm lying, but I have the hard evidence. And I challenge anybody who wants to challenge anything I say. Let them send me a letter from their lawyer and let's go to court.
You've been let back into One Stop Mall as yet?
I don't need to go in One Stop Mall.
You still been banned?
I've actually not been going there. Like I said, I go there once, twice a year, and that was to braid my hair.
Right. That was an unfortunate.
I'm quite gorgeous.
That was an unfortunate situation. Okay, we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll continue our interview when we come back. You're a very exciting guest.
Thank you, Kishma. Let me put my foot down this way.
And welcome back to Cut Deep, Blossoms Florist, McKelly's Beauty Salon, and Basics, our new sponsor to the roster. And we thank them so much for all continued support. I am Kishma Penn, your guest host tonight on Cut Deep, as we have Miss Cindy in the guest chair. And we're having a wonderful conversation, and we're getting to know who exactly she is. So we're going to continue. And I have to ask this question. Most people think that you're a staunch VIP supporter.
Oh, what?
Most people think you're a staunch VIP supporter.
Really?
Most people, and you were once, or you were at least once considered a staunch VIP supporter, right? Most people say that in your supporting the party previously, that you were delusional, and that you had a sort of, it's almost akin, they say I had a devotion that was, akin to Jim Jones followers. Like, you like the Kool-Aid that
To
they
the
was,
VIP?
Yeah, you like the
Interesting.
Kool-Aid that they was selling.
Oh, yeah?
And drinking, and you're drinking it, and yeah. So, what changed? Why you're no longer a VIP supporter, or no longer considered one, if you were ever one?
Well, that's the better thing. I don't know, or I can't say at any point where anybody would have considered me to be a VIP supporter. Nowhere in my posts, now if they said, now here's the thing. When my sister ran for elections, she ran with the VIP.
Correct.
She isn't here to tell you, but any of them on their team could tell you they didn't trust me around her or around them because they felt I was an NDP supporter.
Okay.
Now, if you want to call me an NDP supporter, you could go ahead and do that.
Right.
Because and I've said it before, initially, 25 years ago, I was a part of the NDP's youth founding committee. So if anything aligns, it would be me aligning to the NDP in their original message.
Right.
I don't align to any party at all.
So you're
I've never showed any love for, let me not say love, I've never showed any affiliation to the VIP, actually. None. I didn't vote fully for them. I had mixed votes. I endorsed candidates across all parties. So I'm not sure how it came up that I'm a VIP supporter or I swallowed Kool-Aid. Because I've been on these guys from 4 weeks out.
I think that there's that conception because that misconception, because I've heard people come up to me and say, why are you speaking up for Cindy? You know, she's a VIP, you're anti-VIP. I say, first off, I'm not anti-VIP. And I speak up for any injustice, as you know, as I see it and as I deem it an injustice within the country. So I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people, for some strange reason, seem to think that. I think it's your vocalness against the previous administration to possibly add in.
But this is
possibly added to
But
that.
this is the problem that we're having. And if you go on my Facebook page and you go back, you'll see where I've attacked Andrew too as the opposition leader. If you're not doing what is right, I'm going to talk about you. I don't care which party you're supporting. And I think that people need to open up their minds a little more and understand that I can agree with somebody and I'm not a VIP, or I can agree with, and I'm not, the affiliation, people should be able to look at people independently and hear their views and not think, oh, I'm talking about something about NDP, she must be a VIP.
Right.
That's so, I am not any, I am a Virgin Islander.
I have to bring up a particular example. And I hate to call names, but I have to call names in this instance, particularly because there's a somewhat of a parallel in your situation, except for the outcome in the ending. Now, in the previous administration, our now Minister of Education was very vocal against the government, the standing government of the day. He had taken a lot of demonstrations. Yeah, he was
a radical.
Like he was a radical,
extreme radical.
Right. He was labeled a radical like us. He too, like you, was a public servant, and he was most vocal against the minister in his same set department, which was he was most vocal against Myron, Mr. Warren, right? So the reason I'm bringing it up is that he was allowed to keep his job despite being, quote unquote, a radical. He was able to continue to express his political views.
Correct.
And he, if we want to be honest, he got way more disrespectful than you ever were.
Oh, yes.
Quote unquote.
That's why I said he was extremely radical.
He got way more disrespectful. He was way more, out of place, which is the word they like to use with you quite frequently. How do you feel seeing that one particular party took all of that? Because basically they took all that criticism from him and they did him nothing. Well, we don't know if they ever wrote him letters.
Well, they took it from me too, and they never did me anything.
Exactly. And now you have basically, even without, they're gonna say no, they didn't dismiss you for that.
Well, okay, let's do this, Kishma. Let's do this. Here, so where you're going is here, and I'm gonna end it for you. He was that.
Right.
He was who I am.
Right. And he was left to be.
He has remained quiet. That's what you mean. Which means he endorses what has happened. There isn't anything else that they can come out with to say that they dismissed me for or made me redundant for. But I'm going to leave that with the lawyers. Let them deal with that. Right. But yes, he is endorsing of victimization.
Right.
And the silencing of our people.
Right.
He endorses that, as far as I'm concerned. Their deputy speaker, he has openly said that is why I was dismissed anyway. and he sits in the upper echelon.
The deputy speaker, that's
Neville Smith.
Neville Smith.
Yes.
Okay.
And I've
AKA
expressed my disappointment in him. But yes, he said it publicly in the House of Assembly that basically
you bite the hand that feed you.
Who's the hand that feeds me?
But that's how they see it. That's how
The
they
hand
view
that
it.
feeds me?
That's how
Okay,
they
let's
view it.
discuss that then. Let's discuss that, because the development of Cut Deep, right, is to cut through these things.
I know.
And to bring clarity as to the government, administrations, us as a people, what we're entitled to and
All
what
rights.
we're not entitled
Right.
to. Okay? There is no hand here that's feeding anybody that's being chopped off. This money doesn't belong to Andrew. It doesn't belong to the VIP. It doesn't belong to the NDP. It belongs to the people. Okay? And if I need something, or you need something, or anybody, any citizen needs something, it is their right to ask. It is your right to a job.
Right.
Without being victimized or having to say, oh, you can't talk about this or talk about that, or if you see something wrong, you can't bring it up. The now premier says we need to be able to bring it up, and so he was going to bring the whistleblowers protection. Where is it? Right? So there is nobody biting any hand that feeds anybody. Those two things don't go together. And I wish people would, the level at which our people are mentally in terms of accepting some of this ignorance really bothers me.
It does.
It bothers
as
me,
well.
and they have to understand that, and that's where my frustration comes. And sometimes who you least expect it from, it comes from, and you're thinking to yourself, boy, this road is going to be long.
Yep. I have a question for you as you say who you least expected from. After your dismissal, your brother was very public
Oh my.
on Facebook and had his very...
Let me sip my tea.
Yes, please sip your tea, because this is a heavy question now. You know my family. You know our history. You know what we have been through and the dysfunction that exists within our family. However, we always publicly support each other. As a sibling, how did you feel reading your brother's comments, which sounded just like the other men basically saying, she know her place, she was out of place, and she was a loose cannon, she had to know it was coming?
Well, let me do this. I'm gonna look at it from two different angles, right? I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt to say, Cindy, I told you who these people were. I called them out to you for who they are, and you didn't listen. So this would happen to you.
Right.
I can look at it from another way, which I've spoken to him about on many occasions, because that isn't the first time he's posted.
Right.
He posts all the time.
I've seen him being contrary to you many times.
In contradiction to me.
Right.
And quite often in reference to what I say. He has, unfortunately, discussed me as well in a lot of circles that I know. Kishma, in terms of, we're all individual people.
Correct.
And that is something that I want people to understand. Matty's my brother, but he has his own mindset. He has his own way of thinking. He has whatever you have going on around you that make you think or behave in a certain way. I'm not going to judge him for that. I know that it doesn't matter who it is. I'm willing to cut you off.
Right.
I'm willing to cut you off.
For your well-being.
For my well-being.
Right.
For my children's well-being, because the state of this territory, okay, is going to fall back on our children. Whatever mess is there. So all of this that I'm doing, it's about my children.
Right.
And people have said that to me. Oh, you lost your job. Like, didn't you think about your children? I saw it on the blogs. And yes, I read the blogs sometimes. They don't bother me, but I read them to see how people feel.
Right. I do too. So you could get a feel, so you could respond to what it is they're thinking and saying.
Correct. This is about my children. Whether they live here or they don't live here, they're supposed to be able to come back here and be able to survive, feel comfortable. And And so this is really about them. So me losing a job, that is the least of my problem. I didn't eat my school fees. They didn't take my livelihood.
No.
A matter of fact, I've signed a number of contracts over the past week. So they didn't. So this isn't that the job isn't a thing for me.
Right.
We have to pay attention to the fact that they could be so brazen to decide that I will try to silence you. And they went a little deeper than that, because I was told on more than one occasions that the Honorable Kevin Malone, allegedly in his position as a minister, an elected minister, allegedly could open his mouth and say that they were going to crush me. You see, so there are a lot of things going on, and so I'm not going to fall back. It doesn't matter how Matty feels. Quite often, I think that his position is one of selfishness.
Right.
And he only sees as far as
himself.
How can I get hurt from you talking? You know? So he is the lead. I don't hate him. He is who he is. And we're all who we are. And we all are set on a path. And ain't really much we could do about that.
Okay, so I'm going to switch it up here for a quick second. I'm going to shoot you a series of questions, and I just need your quick answer off the top of your head. So
Okay.
yes or no,
Okay.
or for or against. And they're all based on topics that are the hot button issues in the country right now. Do you think we have a racism / prejudicial problem
Definitely.
in our BVI?
Definitely.
So that's a yes.
Yes.
Should the expatriates be able to start the road to citizenship at 10 years, or should it remain at 15 years as it is right now?
I think it's more than living in a country. Yes. Oh, what's the question?
It's a yes or no. Should they be able to start
But that's
at 10 years?
That's not a yes or no question, though.
Yeah, because no. Well, okay, yes, if you say that. Next one. Gay marriage and homosexuality in the BVI. Are you for or against gay marriage?
I am for whatever makes people happy. We need to stop judging.
Okay. Should the scooters be banned?
No.
Should the loud mufflers on the scooters be banned?
Yes.
Okay. Should the sixth form be removed from the high school system?
I don't see the
high
need.
school system.
I don't see the need.
In your opinion, are the youths, and by youths, let me make sure I throw in the age bracket so you know exactly who I'm referring to, the 18 to 28-year-old demographic of the BVI, self-entitled?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think that
No.
they're entitled?
No.
We
are. Our generation is.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Are you going to take the COVID-19 vaccine?
Yes. I intend to.
Are you fearful in any way of taking the COVID-19 vaccine?
No.
Okay. So we'll take a quick commercial break here and we go probe a little bit deeper into Cindy. I'm loving this right now. So folks, we'll be right back after a few messages from our sponsors.
Father Jesus, that line here long like church service.
Alright, do enjoy the rest of the day. Next customer line, please. Wait, hold on a second.
Yes, Sonny boy, come, yes,
Good
son.
morning.
Good morning, Sonny boy. Hold on there. You must stop cut fun topic.
It's okay, I'll take care of it.
What? No man to take care of me.
How may I assist you?
Yes.
You want top of power?
You want top of power?
Join the prepaid party with CCT and enjoy more affordable data plans, more top-up promotions, more savings with hero bundles, and more value for your money each and every Tuesday with Top Up Turn Up Tuesday. Visit a CCT store today or anywhere CCT Top Up is sold and top up your phone.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. You want top of power?
Welcome back to Cut Deep. Thanks again to our sponsors, Blossom Florist, McKelly's Beauty Salon, and newest to the roster, Basics. Today on Cut Deep, I am your guest host, Kishma Penn, and we're talking with Miss Mrs. Jones. Cindy, she tell me I'm a scholar, Cindy. So, Cindy, I have to use myself as a demonstration in this question so that you get a understanding of where I'm going. There are things about me that people would never believe based on my outside persona. I'm very talkative, a little bit loud, I'm very outgoing, but I actually suffer from social anxiety. And my talkativeness is actually a cover for my social anxiety. What about you or the person that you are? Not necessarily like in that situation, but that people wouldn't believe if you were to say, you know, like there are captains who can't swim. And when people say they can't swim, they wonder, like, you know, I can't believe that. What would someone not believe about you that you could tell us today? That was very different to your persona that everybody thinks they know you from.
Okay. People would never believe that I'm actually shy. And I think maybe you can tell, like, you know, when I'm doing the show, I'm kind of reserved, but I'm shy. I'm actually very shy. So getting up and talking, like I do this, there's not an audience. When there's an audience, like a big audience, I'm normally very shy. So I'm a very shy person. People find that hard to believe, but they're not. I remember when we had just started out with the NDP Youth Committee and stuff like that, and even just before that, because we used to gather, like Kendall and myself, Brady, all of us would gather, and I would tell Kendall the questions that I had, like if we were in a setting and I wanted to ask a question, I would tell Kendall. And at one point, he was like, Cindy, you're going to have to start asking your own questions. They're good questions. Just ask them what they're going to do, eat you? But I would just go lock lip, like I would not be able to open my mouth now. Can you ask? You know, so people don't believe that, but I'm very shy. But
where do you think you get your shyness from? I don't know where I get my social anxiety from, but I just know that it's not nice for me in certain settings, like you say, like in larger crowds, you feel even more shy. In larger crowds, I get really, really anxious. I'll talk even more.
I don't even know. My dad is very quiet. I can't say he's shy, but he's quiet. He's reserved.
Very reserved.
My mom, I don't know if you knew my mother.
I knew your mother. She was not quiet or reserved.
Yeah, I am her. And I keep saying to myself, I don't know at what point I became my mother, but I am literally my mother's child. She is going to put her hand on her hip. Well, I don't do that, but she'll put her hand on her hip and she is going to tell you exactly what she needs to tell you. And growing up, I would hear her say things like, I don't care if it's the Queen of England. So she was like that. And I think that I am her in my older years. Interesting enough.
Okay, so from one, as they have labeled us radicals, to another, what would you say to young people who are socially conscious, who are looking at the social issues, the problems, having a voice, not being afraid to use their voice, wanting to bring, what advice would you give to them? Because like for me, I was always socially conscious. I think my parents probably breathed me into this role because they had me watching videos and documentaries about Malcolm X. And you listen to
all that stuff,
and so I got this sense of, and then my father, as you know, was very, you know, he was very outspoken against any government. If he didn't like what they had to say, you know, the devil was going to tell you what it is he had to say. And so what advice would you give based on the current climate, number one? That's the first question. And then part two to the question is, what hope do you have in terms of the change that you're trying to affect?
Here's the thing, Kishma. I love this generation. And I'm not saying that to say it. I'm saying it because it's the truth. And my children, especially my older son, he's a part of this generation, right? He's going to be 18. He'll be able to vote in the next election. Quite a few of them. My beautiful nieces by Broderick, they're mine. They're not yours. All of them, most of them will be at a point where they'll be able to vote. I love them because I find that they're intrigued in what's going on.
Right.
They're paying attention. You can have a conversation with them and they're aware, they're alert. They can talk the issues with them. They actually remind me, and they give me hope because they remind me of when I was their age or generation. Well, not you, but was their age, we were really in tune with politics. A generation was skipped.
Right.
But this younger generation, I love them because they are in tune, and I think I see them as that generation to help us to turn
To change things.
what is happening right now.
Okay.
I did it. I was a part of a bit of a change for the BVI when we voted in the NDP, and I was able to vote. Then I was able to convince everybody around me to vote the way I saw the BVI needed to go at that point.
Right.
I see this generation as that. I see them as that. I truly do. Because they're involved and they're interested. And so I want to encourage them to get even deeper into what's going on, or understanding government and how government works, and understanding politicians, and if that's where you want to be, or we want to move to inspirational leaders as opposed to a politician.
Right.
Just get involved. Ask as much questions as you can. A lot of them are always in my inbox. I don't turn them around. I'm always listening to them. They add me on social media. I add them. I don't know them. They're really young. I try to think, okay, who does this one look like? You know how we used to do in the older days. Okay, this is this one's son or whatever. That's how I know. And my son, my 16-year-old, seems to be very popular as well. So he knows a lot of them. But I'm intrigued by their willingness to be a part of
The change.
any transition. Yes.
At the path of the change. Okay.
Yeah.
And where do you see us actually changing to? They don't forget to say that was the second path.
We've grown into a norm in the BVI, which scares me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't here. So the changes for me are a little shocking. Our willingness to sit back and just accept anything. The brazen acts by any administration. By the one now, I consider a lot of the things that they're doing brazen acts, and we're very quiet and laid back about it. I call it the dumbing down of our society. And I want people to know that the more you stay quiet, and there are a few ways, and I get this from people. Everybody isn't gonna have a loud mouth or say what they have to say, and that is fine. You have different types of workers, and everybody needs to do what they're comfortable with.
Right.
But you have to do something.
Right.
You can't say, oh, Cindy, everybody can be radical like you, but then you're not doing anything at all.
Right.
You can move a letter, you can sign a letter, you can do something, something. But we all have to do something based on where the BVI is.
Right.
Okay? And we're spiraling down real fast. I don't know how much further down into the earth we can go, but we're pretty much bottomed out. We're pretty much bottomed out. I mean, you see our youths on the street. The hope in the BVI for me is gone. I don't see anything.
Right.
And we need to get back there. We need a purpose. We don't have a purpose.
Right.
We don't have a purpose. And you writing to your minister behind closed doors to get what you want doesn't do anything for the populace.
Correct.
It doesn't do anything for the BVI. Okay? So I might be quite outspoken, radical, whatever you feel comfortable calling me. I'm going to sleep at night anyway. Right? However you can take up your part in turning the BVI off of this precipice that we're on. We need to jump on board. I don't need to lay out all of the issues right here. All of us live here and we know what the issues are. Right. Corruption is a big one. Victimization is a big one. We know what they are. Those are the changes we need. We need the platforms to initiate those changes. We need people that are genuine, and we need to stop voting for people that we like. Vote for people that we know will do the job, come hell or high water.
Yeah.
Okay? So
I would say this, I love your answer. And a question that comes at me all the time, people keep saying, Kishma, aren't you afraid? And why do you think what you're doing is going to affect any change? And I never really had an answer that was satisfying enough for my liking. And yesterday, when hiking with my sister and my friends, she said something to me that resonated with me as a history, and only a history teacher could bring it to you like this. Kishma Penn, who's also the assistant principal, she said, if all of us on the plantations never cried and no one ever ran away, we'd probably still be on the plantation today. So that's my answer to anyone
And she's correct.
Who speaks in that manner.
And she's correct. When they call me a radical, I would say if it wasn't for Nelson Mandela and Martin Luther King and all these people, where would we be? They were radical. At some point, you have to have some radicalism to make a shift. You can't keep, but you can't do this for me. No. Can you get up and let's get this moving?
I agree.
And that's how I look at it.
Well,
that's how I look at it.
Thank you very much, Cindy, for offering your time, giving me the opportunity to host your show and to interview you. It was a very exciting interview. It was nice getting to know you on this level, and definitely I would have never thought that you were shy. I would have never shy. In my wild thoughts. I don't know how she's trying to convince you how she's shy. I don't believe it, but that's what she gave us. So, we have to go.
And I'm actually the easiest person to talk to.
Yeah.
You can talk to me. You can walk up on this. I'm like, I know people say your face is so harsh and you don't smile. And I can't walk around smiling.
True.
But I'm one of the easiest people to talk to.
Well,
I will talk to you anywhere.
Hopefully, they heard you today. They got a chance to know you. They got a glimpse of who you are. I saw you on a personal level, and you cleared up some misconceptions. So, folks, she said it here. You can walk up to her. You can talk to her. She's one of the easiest persons to talk to. Don't worry about the controversy. Just have the conversation. She's a very smart individual. I've known her for years.
Thank you, Kishma.
Yes.
Kishma, thank you for being the guest host on Cut Deep. I want to thank my audience for tuning in every season. We have 12 great shows for you this season. We're going to cut through government. We're going to cut through a lot of political issues that this country face. One of the big things that we're going to focus on this season is our civic duty, which is very important in understanding your position in the BVI and how that works in terms of turning the country around, knowing what you're supposed to know, and a proper functioning democracy. So that is our focus for this season, and we're happy to be back, and we look forward to seeing you next week.